Imagine walking down a narrow street in medieval Europe. The air smells of smoke and rot. People whisper about a mysterious sickness that kills within days. You see carts filled with bodies and priests praying in hushed voices. This was not just any illness. This was the Black Death, one of the deadliest events in human history, and it changed the world forever. The story begins in the 14th century, along the bustling trade routes that connected Asia to Europe. The plague is believed to have started in Central Asia, carried by fleas living on black rats. As traders and armies moved, so did the disease. By 1347, ships arriving in Sicily brought a horror no one could escape. Within months, the plague swept across Italy, France, Spain, and spread north into England and beyond. No city was safe. They called it the Black Death because of the black boils that appeared on the skin. Victims suffered fever, vomiting, and swelling lymph nodes the size of eggs. Death often came in just 3 to 5 days. Fear spread faster than the disease itself. Entire families locked themselves inside homes. Some people believed it was God's punishment. Others blamed foreigners, or even the alignment of the planets. Panic turned neighbor against neighbor. Daily life collapsed. Markets closed, schools shut down, and farms were abandoned. In many towns, half the population died. Doctors wore long, bird-like masks, stuffed with herbs to filter the poisoned air. People carried flowers in their pockets, believing sweet smells would protect them. Others turned to extreme religion, whipping themselves in the streets to beg for forgiveness, but nothing worked. The plague struck rich and poor alike, tearing through castles and cottages. The Black Death wiped out an estimated 25 to 50 million people, almost half of Europe's population. The world that emerged after was completely different. Labor became scarce. For the first time, peasants could demand better wages. The old feudal system began to break apart. Cities rebuilt with cleaner streets and stronger health practices. Religion, too, was shaken. Many lost faith in the church, opening the door to new ideas and eventually, the Renaissance. In a strange way, the destruction also brought transformation. The Black Death didn't vanish forever. It returned in waves for centuries, though never as devastating. But it left behind lessons that shaped medicine, society, and science. Quarantine was invented during this time. Ships arriving in Venice had to wait 40 days before passengers could enter. Even today, the word quarantine comes from the Italian quaranta giorni. The Black Death was more than a tragedy. It was a turning point. From the ashes of despair came a new world, one that valued science, change, and resilience. When we look at our world today, with its struggles against modern pandemics, we are reminded of a truth the plague taught humanity centuries ago. Disease can destroy, but it can also force us to rebuild stronger than before. 40 days, the Black Death was not just a single event. It returned again and again, reshaping history for centuries. In this episode, we'll explore the aftershocks of the plague, the revolts, the cultural revolutions, and the hidden stories of survival that changed Europe forever. Many believe the plague vanished after the 14th century, but in truth, it came back in waves. Outbreaks struck in the 15th, 16th, and even the 17th centuries. London's Great Plague of 1665 killed over 100,000 people in just a single year. With so many dead, peasants were suddenly in high demand. Landowners refused to raise wages, but peasants refused to be silent. Across Europe, uprisings erupted like the Peasants' Revolt in England in 1381. Ordinary workers now had a new voice, one that echoed in politics and society for generations. The church had promised protection, but the plague ignored prayers and rituals. Many began to question authority. This doubt slowly grew into movements that would later lead to the Protestant Reformation. Art, too, reflected this change. Dark, haunting images of death and decay filled paintings and manuscripts, showing a world obsessed with mortality. After the devastation, cities rebuilt. Stronger, narrow, filthy alleys gave way to wider streets and better sanitation. The first public health boards were formed. Venice pioneered quarantine laws, inspiring other cities to adopt similar measures. Without the plague, modern urban planning and public health might never have developed so quickly. By the end of the plague era, Europe was not the same. Feudalism weakened, trade networks adjusted. A middle class began to rise, and in the shadow of death, knowledge flourished, paving the way for the Renaissance. In this way, the Black Death was not just a destroyer. it was also a hidden architect of the modern world. The Black Death's story is not just about death, it's about survival, change, and rebirth. From the ashes of a shattered world came revolts, reformations, and a new vision of life. This was the true legacy of the plague that changed the world.